I had some time off work recently and I just needed to watch something in the daytime, in the afternoon, that was really nice and lovely. And I watched a film on Amazon called... Fucking name.
It was so nice.
It's so good. I Want You Back. It's called I Want You Back.
James, it was incredible. Wow. I mean,
So good.
How do I describe this film?
I'm like a guy who's blagging his essay, you know. It hasn't read the book.
Generating brain.
Sorry, it's called I Want You Back.
You did have COVID.
Sorry.
Jesus. Talk about brain fog.
Oh my god. Sorry. So there are two Willow Smith songs. There are two Willow Smith songs that I like. Yeah, not with my hair. Have you not Meet Me at Our Spot? Have you not heard that one?
I probably know if you.
Come alive, baby, when you
Yeah, I also
that
have
one.
TikTok,
And
yeah.
there's another TikTok one which is like, wait a minute, I think I lost my consciousness in a sick dimension.
Do you think his kids are now getting audited for all their like mishaps?
Audited?
Yeah, like like audited.
Oh, right.
Everyone's going through going.
Oh, what? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I saw Jaden Smith tweeted, "This is how we do."
not do it.
No,
This is
maybe.
how we do. Oh, okay.
Like, all caps. This is how we do.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm kind of looking forward to one day, like maybe I'm making a really big speech, like maybe best man speech or just something where a lot of people. I'm just hoping I'm just going to stop in the middle and go, "Thank you, D." You know, Denzel Washington recently told me, yeah, then just insert a quote.
when you do this big speech, maybe at your wedding or something,
Something of that
inevitably, I want to
caliber.
be the guy to come up and just knock the shit out of you.
Just never see me again.
Never forgiven you.
Yeah.
For all that stuff. I don't want to. Let's not talk about the thing.
Enough has been said.
Enough has been said about the thing.
We don't even need to say what happened. You know what happened, and it happened.
Yeah, that was the thing that was. But we haven't recorded in a while because you went skiing.
I went skiing.
Something I've never done.
Right.
But I always imagine you skiing to have like the world is not enough suit that
It's
goes
how
into the ball.
Electra, calm down. I can't remember that.
Calm down. Yeah.
Calm down.
Pierce Brosnan.
God, I live to die another day. That's
He's not
terrible.
that-
No,
well,
he's not that Irish.
yeah.
Is
He is Irish.
Is he doing an English accent
yes.
in that? Yeah. So
Yeah,
the fact
he-
that I can't tell.
But Pierce, Mr. Starfire.
It's my Mercedes Benz.
That's Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, you went skiing. How was that?
Yeah, it was great. I did feel like pretend I was James Bond for a lot of it because why not? But it's not in any way near as glamorous. I've never just dropped off on a helicopter with a supermodel.
Turned up on a
going
bus,
down.
did you?
Yeah, it's like me telling my girlfriend, "It's okay, you can come down. No, come on, you got to turn there."
Had she
Turn
never skied
there.
before?
No, she never skied before.
Oh well, I mean,
So that was
I don't think I've heard that the older you get, the less likely you're going to get into skiing.
It's harder because as a kid you have no fear and you just.
You
if
didn't know me as a
fall-
kid.
I can imagine.
Holding
You
on
see
to
it
the
on
ski
TikTok,
lift.
the kid who's no fun. He's like, "Guys, you can't do that." You don't see him. He's like Kyle something. He's always the kid that's no fun.
TikTok will never show you the stuff that you want to see.
No, and I want to just give a huge thank you to the two people that got in touch to say, "Where's the episode this week?
I know.
Where are you?"
All two people.
All two people that were like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then there's another guy who reached out saying that he wanted to ask us a question.
Okay.
And he was wondering how you do that, and he just DM'd us on Instagram.
Yes.
And then I said, if you do have a question, he was like, "Is there a way we can have
There is a way.
feedback onto the show?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" I've never really officially said it on the show, but if you do have hot take, news, opinion,
Yes.
feedback, calling us out for something we said and you disagree with
In a
why,
constructive way, let's not be
if you
nasty.
want to say like the reason why George is a heartless bastard for not liking Spider-Man No Way Home, please write in and tell him off. hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
That's it.
That's our email. You can DM us, but send
Did
us
this
an email.
guy send a question?
I don't think he has yet.
Okay.
If you're that guy who messaged, thank you, send a question
And we'll talk about it next time.
and we'll talk about it. I can't
Also,
promise
whilst we're
we'll
doing
talk about
any
it.
other business, a few weeks ago we talked about Boiling Point. We gave our review.
Yes.
James and I both liked it. That film
did.
is now on Netflix.
It is.
So it's open and accessible to many more people. Please go and see it and let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts.
It's a great thing that now many people have access to that film.
Yes, yeah. That film was, like criminally underseen, and now it can hopefully be seen. I did see it had the little top 10 films in the UK
That's
on
good.
Netflix. So
Yeah.
I guess the Stephen Graham pull is a big, it's just a close up of his face on Netflix, looking.
Just going like this.
Yeah. Hey, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes. All right, we'll do that. Yeah.
Did you see that Jim Carrey is retiring?
No.
Broke my heart.
No.
I saw on TikTok this video doing press for Sonic 2, right?
Right, yes.
And the woman is like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And he says, "I think I'm done." And I'll show you the clip. But he says this, right?
Well, we need. I really like my quiet life, and I really love.
Oh no, sorry, this isn't the start.
Yeah, please from the beginning.
What do we think? Well, I'm retiring, but
No.
yeah, probably.
Are you being serious or are you screwing with me?
I'm being fairly serious. Yeah.
Really? Why?
It
George is
depends.
despairing.
It depends if the angels bring some sort of script that's written in gold ink that says to me that it's going to be really important for people to see. I might continue down the road,
We're
but
crying.
I'm taking a break. Yeah.
Well, we need to.
I really like my quiet life, and I really love putting paint on canvas, and I really love my spiritual life, and I feel like, and this is something you might never hear another celebrity say as long as time exists. I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough.
Wow.
So.
Wow, that's amazing.
I saw that and I was just like, hey, like, I love Jim Carrey. Just the way he talks about life and the way he
very spiritual.
is able to look at his career on a huge macro scale. But yeah, like, I mean, anyone who's listening, George's face was George rocked, despair in his eyes, sadness.
I love Jim Carrey. I understand that he, it's kind of like, I'm sure he's a flawed personality because he's got so many different dimensions to him, and he is so extroverted and interesting. But from when I was a kid, like I almost have it's like this weird childhood connection with Jim Carrey. I remember just like seeing him on screen, and it's just like bottled lightning. It's just it's been said before. I think Jerry Seinfeld said this. He said if you take Jim Carrey out of the Jim Carrey films, those aren't films.
Yes.
He makes those films, but he is the catalyst.
No one else could have done Ace Ventura.
The Mask, Dumb and
Any of
Dumber.
it, yes.
No, Liar, Liar. I mean, yeah, I remember watching those just being so... And I remember like mimicking him in like the playground, and just because I really used to enjoy the sort of physical comedy. And everyone now loves, the
Grinch.
loves... Yeah, of course, Truman Show.
The Grinch is a Pulp Kitchen favourite.
The Grinch is a Pulp Kitchen favourite, but Truman Show is one of my favourites.
Same.
And...
I want so many more films of in that, even though I love Jim Carrey doing Jim Carrey thing, he is so good and versatile. I love him even more in those kind of films because it really takes you by surprise at his range and his versatility.
And Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind as well.
Yes,
you see that?
yes, so good.
I've kind of sensed this from Jim Carrey for a while now. I've noticed in the past 10 years, he's kind of taken a step back, and I was very much aware of his studio because in that Comedians in Cars episode, they go to his, and he just loves the paint, and he did that thing about, I love color. And what I always took from that is Jim Carrey is someone who is the bottled lightning, but I think he came to a point in his life, and I think he's basically said this, where he looked at the sort of the energy he had and was like, if I don't take steps to, evolve this and change my life, it's going to tip me over in a bit of a way, a bit like what happened to Robin Williams. It's like clearly having that kind of dynamic within you is as much a burden as it is a talent, right? And what Jim Carrey's painting and his spirituality and his sort of like attitude that he's presented over the past 10 years, I think is his steps to adjust and take care of himself in a way that he doesn't tip over the edge. So he did that Man on the Moon, but the Jim and Andy documentary.
Amazing documentary, yeah.
And he does present this element that it does, border on pretentiousness at times and like lofty thoughts, but he's really trying to speak in a different way to a lot of the celebrities. Like he said there, he's starting to look at he's starting to look at celebrity culture and his role with a self-awareness that is really refreshing.
No one's been able to articulate what his specific experience is and what likely other comedians' experiences are better than Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
He's so good at describing the way that he was a master of turning himself on, and he had
Yeah.
all these different masks and faces and little abilities to change people. And it's like, well, it was this was in the documentary. It's like if Jim Carrey could be all these different other things so easily, then what is Jim Carrey?
Yeah.
And there's one of my favorite quotes of his where he says, I really wish that everyone in the entire world could be rich and famous and successful, and just so they could realize that that's not the answer. I wish everyone could do that.
Yeah, because he's such an interesting case study because his like meteoric rise, like 1994, he just he made millions of dollars in like 3 big hit films, and he was like the last, except for maybe Will Ferrell, but I would say like he was the last big great comic actor to make loads of the comic movie star. The guy who was like bankable star, and that ran for like 15.
Jim Carrey movie.
Exactly.
It was that thing about how he had these metrics when he was younger and, a struggling comedian. He said he had these metrics for what he would consider himself to be a success, and it was writing himself a check for 10 million. And I think, was it Bruce Almighty, that film that he got? I can't remember what film it was.
No, it was in 1994 that he cashed the check.
1994?
Yeah,
What was it?
no, he wrote himself a check for $1 million, I think it was.
$1 million, right.
And then I think he cashed it. It's on the internet.
But
You'll
like,
be able to,
he whatever it was, he
Yeah.
achieved these metrics in his head, and
Yeah.
then it's like, well, what now is success? And I think he says he's doing really well, and he doesn't have depression, even though he did, and he's clearly very spiritual. There's another great quote which he said, which is, "I used to think of myself as Jim Carrey experiencing the universe. Now I know that I'm the universe experiencing Jim Carrey."
Wow.
Which is such a weird paradigm shift if you think about what place in the universe, who are we? Are we just vessels? We are the universe.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting really into it.
No,
But
I
it's
know.
such an amazing clip to think that. Oh, quote, sorry. Like you're not separated from this entire bubble of life and the world that we call it. You're actually this person. You're experiencing it through this person.
Yeah, that's I mean, yes, I know. I can hear people sort of like recoiling at quotes like that because they find it so like
It is a bit
pretentious. But what a unique point of view. We're not going to get that from like other people. Jim Carrey's experience has been quite rare and specific to the industry, and his then point of view is really interesting. And he carries just this sort of like cultural awareness and baggage. Like when he went on Graham Norton like 2 years ago to do Sonic 1, right? Again, you're like, Jim Carrey, Sonic? Really?
Which I heard is not Sonic 1 I hear.
Yeah, but sure. But also you see those clips and like Jim Carrey's just in his zone doing his thing, right?
Yeah.
But like when he comes on the show and he comes on last, and everyone's already been on for a bit, he's just naturally into, he talks to Daniel Kaluuya and he makes a joke to his co-star.
He's like a monk. He's like at one.
Yeah, he's at one with himself, but he's still able to effortlessly do the comedy. But also, he has dialed it back, and he tells this story about when he was in. Do you remember when that years ago, Hawaii got like everyone in Hawaii got a fake text from the US government saying the missiles are coming? He was in Hawaii when that happened, and he had 9 minutes to find cover, and he was like on the phone with his assistant when it happened. And he tells a story about how like actually an overwhelming sense of calm just like came over him.
Wow.
And it was like this very strange period where he thought that this is it, this is over. So he's an interesting guy. I'm really sad to see him go because he's a great performer and a great actor.
I hope it's not
and
true.
a great presence.
He did say like,
But then-
unless
but
there's
then-
a script that really takes me and it's like my calling to do it. I hope someone.
2 things on that. The first thing is, in a way, I kind of hope it is true because it means he's at peace. So if he's happy to step back and retire,
I selfishly
Gene,
don't want it to be true.
another example. Do you know Gene Hackman? Yeah. He retired, and everyone missed him, but he was like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm over now." Quentin Tarantino says he's going to retire after.
Yeah.
Right.
Got one more film.
Exactly. So this idea that there will be enough, it's not just an endless treadmill. But also that could, he hasn't categorically said it's over. So with like I'm going to wait for a script to come through that's great. It's a bit like McConaughey when he said, I'm not going to work for until I get a script that comes. And it took 2 years, but eventually they were like, oh, could you do this? And they were like, yeah, because you need to get people to rethink and catch up with where you are.
Yeah, I think it was 20 months or something he didn't
Yeah.
work for. He
Yeah.
said he got an offer to do a film. He got sent through a script and he got offered $8.5 million. He said no, and then he came back and they said, okay, hold about $10.5 million.
Yeah.
He said no, thank you.
Yeah.
12.5, and he was like, oh no. And then
Yeah.
they offered him $14.5 million, and he was like, let me read that script again. But he still said he wasn't going to do it,
And it worked out.
And it just worked out very well. He's taken a bit of time off, hasn't he?
Well, there's these rumors that he might be run for governor of Texas. He's done a lot of philanthropy.
He is doing a lot of political stuff. isn't
Yeah,
he?
a lot of
I hope
philanthropy.
he just stays acting.
But also he's like Carrey, which is like he I read his autobiography, by the way, which is
it's good.
McConaughey's a bit like Carrey, which he has like loads of like aphorisms and like stuff that is quite pretentious. Some of it doesn't even mean anything. You're like, what is that? Loads of McConaughey.
His Oscar speech is very like, I thank God, I thank my wife, I thank you, I thank all of you.
But it comes from like a sincere belief in something outside of purely the work that he's doing. So the fact that like in the way that Carrey's painting and stepping back, McConaughey is doing philanthropy and maybe thinking about going into politics, like, that's okay. Let people evolve and move on to other things. That's fine.
They don't know us anything.
No.
Yeah, Jim Carrey just saying, look, I'm going to tell you what a lot of people will probably never say, but I am enough. Yeah. I have enough.
What a wonderful thing. Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. That's so. I'm very sad if that is true. You've just thrown that on me, but I almost feel like we could literally do a deep dive and a career retrospective.
Just going through the whole career and all those crazy performances. And yeah, absolutely. It'd be great.
He will be missed. So we were just talking about Jim Carrey potentially retiring. We talked about retirement with Quentin Tarantino and possibly Matthew McConaughey. The big news this week was that sadly Bruce Willis has retired from acting due to a medical condition.
What is medical condition?
I'll read it to you. Okay, so the medical condition that Bruce Willis has, which made him retire, is aphasia. It's a neurological cognitive disease that is, I think, degenerative. They've broken it down to bullet points here on a BBC News article. It's when a person has difficulty with their language or speech, usually caused by brain damage like a stroke, hampers reading, listening, speaking, typing and writing. Speaking problems are the most common, and also memory issues as well. And the news was announced across a couple of platforms, including Demi Moore's. And he's taking time to, be with his family and work with this illness, which was really sad because, for the past few years, Bruce Willis has been like the butt of a lot of jokes because he's appeared really grumpy and done lots of like really cheap straight-to-video films, like 5 in a year. Yeah.
Somehow straight to video in an era where there are no videos.
Exactly, right? Straight to streaming, basically. Yeah. And now obviously everyone has realised, they go, oh, I see you were working, either to, get money to support yourself or even just to work in conditions that, you could do to support your, I mean, there's been lots of people coming out, and obviously I don't know if they're verified, but saying like he was having an earpiece and having to have actors read lines to him because he was really struggling. But, I digress. The sad thing is that a big movie star, one of the classic movie stars of the past like 30 years is retiring. And it's very, for all intents and purposes, it seems like that's the last, we're never going to see another Bruce Willis performance. So I wanted to get your thoughts, and then we maybe talk about his films.
It's like just talking about like this, which is obviously really sad, then like piggybacking off the Jim Carrey news as well. It's such a weird relationship with these people we don't know, but have been like intrinsically part of our lives and pop culture, like before our time. But like you're so used to seeing these people pop in and out or do a film every few years, and then to know that all of a sudden, even though I don't interact with Bruce Willis every day, to know that that's gone. Yeah, I'm all of a sudden like, I know he's not gone, but he's not going to be. I'm not going to have that one-way feed of Bruce Willis in the same way ever again. And it makes you really think, like, God, these people do owe me nothing. I'm not. I have no right to demand entertainment and presence from any of these people. But it's sad to hear.
It is sad because
I hope he is not able to, work with that and can find a way to be comfortable and healthy.
There's an intimacy. That's what I think we're thinking of. There's an intimacy you develop with like performers, and even though you don't know them, you go into a room and you watch. You form an emotional connection with them through the stories that they tell and the way they are presented. And Bruce Willis has been in a lot of films, and that it's like I remember when Philip Seymour Hoffman died. Like, even now I feel a bit sad, but I didn't know Philip Seymour Hoffman, but like. You form such a connection, such a specific cinematic connection.
You think you know them, the characters that they've done. There's an interesting, there's a podcast I've listened to for well over 10 years. There's a guy who I followed for over 10 years, and he's often talked about what it's like when he meets people who have been listening to him for 10 plus years, and the reaction that they have because he has been speaking to them in their ears for over a decade. And these people feel like that person is their best friend. Yeah. And because this person's heard so much about their life, and they're so connected to him. And then, this guy meets these people and he's so honored that they find him so nice to see him, but he's like, I don't know you and you know so much about
Yes,
me, and
yeah.
that's such a weird imbalance.
Yes.
You know, obviously it's not a Hollywood film, but
No, I
people feel
get
like
it.
they can hug him and be his best friend, which
Yeah.
he doesn't mind because he's awesome. But it's like, what a weird dynamic for me to have talked thousands of hours every single week for 10 years, and then like I've never met this person.
Well, I was thinking about, also happening, I think it was yesterday, was Kermode and Mayo's last show on BBC. I'm sure they will continue that show. I'm reading between the lines elsewhere. But that's a similar thing, like...
I thought that would last forever.
Thought it would last forever, and it might do in another
Yes.
form. But I, especially when I was younger, listened to hours, and I've spent so much time with Kermode and Mayo that I feel like I know them. I feel like you have this connection with them, but they don't know me, especially when it's audio based and it's so intimate.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. So it's very sad, but I was wondering, should we just go through Bruce Willis's filmography?
Yes,
and we can just
please.
look at just talk about some of the films he's been in, and just look back on his career. So Bruce Willis was originally really a TV actor. I remember seeing him. He's an extra in a film called The Verdict, Paul Newman film from 1982. He's just like in the courtroom. Then he was in a Miami Vice episode, which did him well. And then he got into doing
What's his big break?
Well, on TV, it was a show called Moonlighting with Sybil Shepherd, which is like a kind of comedy drama. Did really well. I think he won an Emmy for it.
Oh, great.
And then he was basically a comic actor. Like he was doing some other like rom-coms at the time. And then he suddenly got the part of John McClane in Die Hard.
Right, that was his break.
Die Hard, right. And that obviously brought him into a new audience and people were able to reframe him.
And had comedic elements to the role. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Glass? Who does anything about Glass?
Yeah. And he's always like, come over for Christmas, have a few drinks.
Come out to the
couple of
cars,
pounds.
we get together.
I watched
laughs.
the first half of Die Hard, the Christmas just gone. And I was like, because it was on the Sky Movies Christmas movies
Yeah, of
list,
course.
very controversially, but I do believe it's a Christmas film.
Of course.
And I just flicked it on. I was like, this is still really good.
Yes.
And it's such a great one to, even if you don't finish it, just to watch 20 minutes of it as it's on TV. It's perfect for that.
It is. It's so well engineered, and like every time I watch Die Hard, I think, everything just clicks into the right place.
It's a great
so
format
polished.
as well.
Yeah,
The lock-in.
Yeah, and what's the phrase they said? It's like cowboys and Indians in the Towering Inferno. That was like that was the phrase they used about it. And he's that kind of witty. Because he's basically a bit of a grunt. He's just this guy. He's just in a vest top, but he's
New York cop who's seen it all.
Oh, come on, he's
Trust
got
me,
jet lag.
I'm a cop. I've
But
been
he's
doing this for 12 years.
a little tricky with that accent, Hans.
Yeah.
And he's great. And he's got that charm. There is this kind of like Bruce Willis charm. So that was great.
Yeah,
and
sorry.
then that could have kicked him into a new phase of his career. Then he did, I've never seen it, but he did this one called Look Who's Talking, where he voices a baby. That had John Travolta in it.
Okay.
John Travolta did a really nice post about Bruce Willis
Did he?
Following the news. Yeah. Then he came out with Die Hard 2. Not so good. I don't think.
I think the more forgettable of the Die Hards.
I think most people were disappointed because it's.
Well, I'm saying that
Well,
it's
put it
4
this
and
way:
5,
the subtitle, the catchphrase, the caption is "Die Harder."
Yeah.
Which just tells you the sort of level of intrigue and
Or to see the
thought that's gonna
writers
do
for
it.
it. Right, it's got to be more.
Yeah.
It's got to be
So
more
terrorists.
Yeah.
Bigger. What's bigger? An airport. So
Die Hard.
I think
Die Harder.
I like it.
It's 2 a.m. We got to go. Go with it.
give that guy a raise. So I don't think Die Hard 2 is held up by many people as a thing. I think it's just kind of brushed over. Then they made a sequel to Look Who's Talking 2, and then he's in a couple of things. Then he was in Hudson Hawk, which is a really famous box office bomb. I don't know if you've ever seen
No,
it.
not heard
It's
of
got
it,
Richie
not seen
Grant in
it.
it. It's like a crime caper, like a fun screwball comedy, which it was like a throwback to like a previous genre from years past. Didn't make a lot of money. Loads of people hated it, but like Mark Kermode saw it and he had a great time. So that's something there. Then he was in Tony Scott's The Last Boy Scout, which I haven't seen, which was going to be quite interesting. Then he's in a Robert Zemeckis film called Death Becomes Her, which I haven't seen as well. Again, really kind of like trying on different masks there. Some variations on action heroes, but some kind of comedies as well. Okay, then he's in Pulp Kitchen.
I do it every time. I literally do not say the word Pulp Fiction anymore without saying Pulp Kitchen.
Let me
It's
do it
really
again.
annoying.
Then he's in Pulp Fiction
Yes.
in 1994, and he's very famous. And that great character, Butch.
Butch.
When he's in the taxi cab and she says,
There's that shot where he's just looking for, what is it, like a 3-minute shot where he's just being spoken to and he's just there like...
"Oh, when Marcellus is talking to him,
Yes.
yeah," and he's just like, got the-
it's like very, in one of the first scenes.
yeah. And when he gets in the taxi cab and it's his episode of the film, and she's like, "I heard it on the radio, you killed the man." And he's like taking off his gloves, like, "They kill him? Sorry, Floyd."
Yeah.
He's just got that kind
great,
of slickness. And so obviously big film for him. Then he's in a few more. And then he's in Die Hard with a Vengeance. Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance in 1995, which I wanted to talk about because I actually rewatched that last year because we talked about it with the Batman, which I still have yet to see, but there's this connection with like the idea that the villain is setting up traps and riddles for the protagonist to solve. And I saw that Die Hard with a Vengeance is there, and I watched it, and Die Hard with a Vengeance is the best Die Hard sequel, and the only Die Hard films you ever need to see is Die Hard, and if you have to watch another one, Die Hard with a Vengeance, case closed. You do not need to see 2
for this, yeah.
You do not need to see 2, and you do not see 4, 5, and thank God that's the only ones, right?
Yeah.
The reason why Die Hard with a Vengeance is really good is that it was never written as a Die Hard film. Do you know that? It was originally a Lethal Weapon film.
Oh, I didn't know that, but that makes so much sense when you think about it.
Originally, it was a spec script.
I'm too old for this.
Yeah. So originally, it was a spec script, right, which is just written. It was like a generic thriller called Simon Says, and then it got kind of worked over, and it was going to be a Lethal Weapon film. And then at like the last minute, I think the studio like turned it down, and then another studio bought it, and they're like, "This is going to be Die Hard 3."
I love that.
And it was going to be Lawrence Fishburne, and then they put Samuel L. Jackson in it, and then you have this film because it's not. I'm trapped somewhere with terrorists, like the second one tried to do.
It's not a lock-in. It's like a...
It's a completely different thing. It's like there's a villain. It's all set in one day, causing mayhem across the city, and for some reason he wants John McClane, and John McClane has to jump through these hoops. Great little... in a way, it's kind of similar mechanics.
Get me John McClane.
Yeah, it's very similar mechanics to the first one. And like you've got a very simple concept that works well. It's like, okay, instead of being locked in a building, he's locked in a city. And instead of having to like go through the different floors and solve the problems in the building... And the terrorist
plot is tied to him. It's personal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he has to go through the city. Anyway, it's a blast. It's solid. I really miss that kind of like 90s glossy action film that film typifies. Like you're like, this is such of its time.
I've not seen it in so long, but I remember having such a good time with it. Yeah. And I think again, it's one of those things that was part of the VHS put it on the shelf era of a film you'd feel like watching a few times over and like, oh, I love let's watch Die Hard 3. And like, or something you pop on TV and like enjoy jumping into.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a way that it's disposable or just like it has less of a sense of place like other films do. I just think it captures that era of cinema, probably writing and the way in which we approached action blockbusters completely differently.
Yeah,
I don't want to say they don't make them like they used to, but
no, but it balances like the efficient mechanics of an action thriller.
Yeah,
with it's still shot on film with the glossiness of the film and the way that New York is shot. And I mean that film at the time was one of the biggest grossing films of that year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was huge. And like the idea now that like Die Hard 3 would be like mid-tier now.
Yeah. And it's interesting because he was always a New York cop, but he was never doing his New York cop thing in the first one. Yeah. The second one's set in an airport. Yeah. It's very personal because he's got his ex-wife on the plane. And this one, it's like, it's John McClane. Yeah. Is he retired?
No, he's just at rock bottom.
Just at rock. Yeah,
he's like hungover.
Yeah, he's nursing a hangover.
Yeah, you can see it. And what's really clear, if you actually want to look at a deeper level, and I think kind of elevates the film as well if you want to look into it. So you've got on the surface you've got this really efficient, mechanical plot, but underneath it really does well at kind of like the racial tension, very post LA riots, mid 90s racial tension, and the way that it writes Samuel L. Jackson's character in it, and the way that Samuel L. Jackson's character questions things in the plot and brings like racial questions to the forefront is really smart and really engaging, and because that's how their characters meet. Yeah. And Samuel L. Jackson questions the role of the police. There's a bit where Samuel L. Jackson is trying to do something, and a trigger-happy policeman pulls out a gun straight away, so put it down, and that is really really interesting to see and really kind of heightens the film. Also, looking at it now that was made in 95, so we're talking 27 years, whatever years later. Yeah. It's really interesting watching that film in a post 9/11 context. It was made pre 9/11. That film is all about terrorist events happening throughout New York in one day.
You will not get a terrorist film about something happening in New York all in one day. That you just wouldn't get that post 9/11.
It's uncomfortably accurate the way it was realized. There's a bit in it where there's a subway explosion and there's this huge and loads of dust just comes out, and you've got city goers just running around covered in dust and all this panic and all this mayhem. And I was like, this is weirdly accurate. It's strange how prescient it was for that. So you've got on the one, so the racial tension that it picks up on, and also like the pre 9/11 element, make it worth watching. Die Hard 3 is you know what? It really ain't bad.
Yeah,
it's solid stuff. Anyway, on to more of Mr. McLean's work.
McLean.
Then he's in 12 Monkeys. Have you seen 12
Not
Monkeys?
seen 12 Monkeys.
So 12 Monkeys is that Terry Gilliam film, which is about time travel where like mankind's been wiped out by a virus and he's sent back in time to try and stop the virus from ever happening. And Brad Pitt is like the anarchist who has the virus.
Right.
And it's an interesting. You should give it a watch. It got talked about a lot because Looper, which we'll talk about. I mean, we can talk about it now because when Looper came out, everyone was like, "Oh, this is a bit like 12 Monkeys. It's another time travel film with Bruce Willis in it." It's not bad. And also very 90s. It's got Bruce Willis. It's got Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
early Brad Pitt, 1995.
Oh, very early Brad Pitt. Skinny Brad Pitt.
Then you got The Fifth Element, which I've only seen once.
I've seen once.
Where he plays
years
Corbin
ago,
Dallas.
But yeah, it's what's the name of that director again?
It's Luc Besson.
Luc Besson.
Yeah,
who did most recently with
Alita, Battle Angel.
No, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets.
Oh
or
God,
something
yeah, he
like
did
that.
do that. New Year's. No, was he? Did he? I think he
was
just produced that.
Am I thinking of Jupiter Ascending?
No, that was the Wachowskis.
That was the Wachowskis. Yes, it was Wachowskis. Did you see?
Oh, this was Luc Besson for Valerian. Yeah,
Yeah, Valerian. Yeah,
Did I
it
see
was
what?
like because I remember that was marketed like from the visionary director of The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
And it's like, are we going all the way far like,
Yeah.
back then to get the credit for Valerian?
I'm not sure where The Fifth Element stands culturally. I know some people really hold it up now as like a really good product. I know some people really just don't give it any regard. I think it might have been misjudged at the time, but I can't. I
couldn't comment on it because it's been so. I barely remember it, but I know I've seen it on VHS.
I remember there's a blue lady in it who gets shot and leaks blue goo. I remember Chris Tucker's in it. Do you remember with the blonde thing
don't
looking like
remember.
Mugatu?
Yes.
What? And Lee Evans is in it. There's a bit where Lee Evans, the
What?
comedian, is it? Yeah, Lee
Lee
Evans
Evans did a bit about.
He did
There's
do
something
about
about Mary as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
He's good
and Funny Bones is in as well. Do you not watch Mouse Hunt when you were a kid with Lee Evans and Nathan Lane?
Yeah.
Hilarious.
God, I thought about that.
Not sure if it'd be
so
funny now,
long.
but yeah. And then he's in The Jackal, Mercury Rising, Armageddon.
Michael
Doesn't-
Bay.
Yeah, that's Michael Bay.
Michael
And also,
Bay.
that's it. That especially when you look at the poster, that's quintessential 90s blockbuster. Bruce Willis is the face of the movie. That's what I'm saying. He's that classic. We've lost a classic movie star.
Yeah. Is Armageddon good now? If you watch it, I don't think so.
I bet it's dated a lot.
I think it's really good.
Also,
Well.
that has, talking about pre 9/11 context, that has the Empire State Building, I'm pretty sure, getting wiped out by a fireball and people falling.
What year was Armageddon?
98.
98. Okay.
So it's interesting just how filmmaking is, but also, sorry, on that 9/11 point, like films then co-opted the visual language of 9/11 and then rendered that into films themselves. I'm thinking of Batman vs Superman, when you have that huge cloud
He runs
of dust.
into the cloud of smoke. Yeah.
And also even like in the Avengers, where it's like, oh, this is for New York. This is what happened in New York. The idea that there's some central trauma happened in New York.
Yeah.
And also, I saw a thing about Spielberg in War of the Worlds, like when Tom Cruise first runs and he gets back home and he's covered in dust. It was like one of the first. Like the idea of.
I remember. Yeah.
Were you about to say something? Was that it?
No.
Okay. And then The Siege, which we've never seen, man. That's called Denzel Washington.
Thank you, D. You know, Denzel Washington just told me a few minutes ago.
I mean, then he does a couple of other stuff like The Whole Nine Yards, never saw. He's in 3 episodes of Friends.
Yes, he is. Good friends.
So he seems to have like a good hit, a couple of missed ones, then he comes back with another hit. Unbreakable.
No, not seen Unbreakable.
You've not seen Unbreakable?
No.
You've not seen it?
You've not seen Unbreakable?
Do you see Glass?
That was the new one.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to.
Yeah,
you don't need to.
I was thinking of doing that whole watch because I thought it would be fun. And
No.
then I didn't hear Glass was good. It was
No.
really long as well.
Yeah, just pointless.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed about the last movie.
Unbreakable is was interesting. You know,
Yeah.
Unbreakable is that's still in the interesting M Night Shyamalan phase. It's not worth your time.
Best M. Night Shyamalan film is The Village.
I need to rewatch that. People keep saying this because at
really
the time
good.
people hated it. Right, I need to add that to
watched
my
it
list.
probably 6 years ago, and I was like, God, this is good, and I'm enjoying it, and it's beautiful, and the acting's and Joaquin Phoenix is great.
Yeah, and Adrian Brody's in it, and it's Bryce Dallas Howard. I think William
you know-
Hurt as
you know
well.
what?
I remember what happens, but
Yeah, of course. When that film came out, the burden of its massive spoiler overshadowed the quality of the film.
Yeah.
The spoiler distracted from any merits that
when
that
people
film
talked about it.
People talking about it. So, oh yeah, do you know what happens in The Village? And that, I think, at the time that it came out, it was such a huge part of pop culture. I don't think people were focusing on the film.
I've seen people talk about it and say, "Oh, that film is so accurate." Talk about paranoia and the way, and basically like gaslighting, the way people are made to think that no, you're there's something out there.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
I'd be up for rewatching it.
Okay, then he does a couple more. Sin City. I mean, Sin City is one of those films that people loved.
I've not seen it since the time it came out. I remember I downloaded it on LimeWire and was really looking forward to watching it. And yeah, I enjoyed it at the time, but I've not seen it since it was out, and I don't think it's aged well.
Also, I'm so sorry, I've completely skipped past one.
What year did Sin City come out?
Sin City came out in 2005. I've completely skipped 1999, The Sixth Sense.
I mean,
yeah, that's a good one of his.
Again, another M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep.
We didn't talk
the first one.
Yeah, the first. And that again, it's a good film, but the spoiler of that movie, I think it's one of the most famous spoilers of all time.
Most famous twists.
Twists. Twists.
The most I think people know now before they go into it. I mean,
yeah, I've not seen that in a really long time, but I remember watching it and enjoying it. It was pretty scary. I watched that. It was a scary film I watched young, so I have an extra sense of sort of reverence for it in my mind. Oh, that's a scary film. But
I watched that when I was probably 12, and I didn't know the ending.
Oh, great!
And I therefore really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't have
because I didn't see. I thought that was really smart, and we all quite liked it. I don't know how that holds up now, though.
Yeah,
when something's been talked about and referenced so much. Yeah. Sorry for missing that one. Okay, what else? We've got things like Lucky Number 11. I think I enjoyed that when I watched it, but I can't. I don't think I can tell you much more about it. Over the Hedge as the voice. Yeah, sure.
I've probably seen Over There.
Planet Terror, which was that Grindhouse thing they did. The Rodriguez one where Tarantino did the Death, whatever. Death Drive? What's it called? Death.
Not Death.
Oh my God.
Death.
I sound like an 80-year-old. What's the movie with the Kurt Russell? With the Death Proof.
Death Proof. I was going to say Deathstroke.
Then basically the most notable one is then 2007 Die Hard 4. Not going to see it, don't want to see it.
I have seen it. I saw it in cinema. I don't think I hated it at the time, but it's very the whole plot is it's like a hack and it's Wi-Fi and it's data, and Justin Long is like the hacker who he takes along for the ride.
What I've always said about Die Hard 1 is that you could plausibly see John McClane being sat around a bar with his buddies in 10 years' time, being like, yeah, no, this thing happened to me, and I was stuck in the building. Like, oh yeah, I heard about that. Which the third one.
So I can't explain to you the plot of the
to
fourth one because it's all techie and
Yeah,
it's like
it's just
you
silly.
know what it is. It's like when people make fun of how people hack in
Yeah,
films,
yeah.
it's loads of like typing
Yeah.
on screen and
No,
windows
thank you.
popping up, and that's what it is.
Then he made. Now we get into like the kind of where
Red.
Yeah, he's taken a bit of a gear change. He's just sort of doing stuff that like Surrogates, Cop Out.
Surrogates is rough.
Yeah.
Cool concept, but rough film.
That's the one where like your older body is in the cupboard.
You
and
have like
you
a
get
surrogate body which is new, and it could be a different like male or female. It's like more successful, and you take that out, and then you're surrogate. Yeah.
Cop Out with Tracy
Didn't see it.
Morgan.
But I know of the film.
No. Brief bit in The Expendables. Then Red. Red is really. Do you want to change?
No, it's fine.
Red. I thought was really poor.
I think I watched Red on TV, and I think boring, wasn't it?
And then they made a second one, Red 2. I mean, come on. Then there's things like, Catch 44, Lay the Favourite. Moonrise Kingdom, I have not seen, but I've heard Bruce Willis is really, really good in Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah.
I've heard that he delivers like a really different side to him.
Okay.
The Expendables 2. Looper. Okay, I love Looper, and I got you to watch it last year.
Yeah.
I think Bruce Willis is really good in that, actually.
Yeah,
because
I think it's great.
there's a whole emotional arc that his character has. Joseph Gordon-Levitt spends that film basically being like, what? I don't understand. What's going on? Which is fine. No disrespect to Justin Gordon-Levitt, but that's what he's going to do. But Bruce Willis is like there for a purpose. He's got a very sort of emotional reason that his character is there. I like him in that.
Yeah.
A Good Day to Die Hard.
Didn't see it.
Didn't see it. Don't want to see it. It's just so far removed.
Another terrible Die Hard title.
Oh God, yeah. Is Die Hard with a Vengeance a bad title? Because it is
now. If you did it now, yes, but at the time, in the context of it being like
with a vengeance,
it was originally being written as like a Lethal Weapon thing. I think it does. I prefer that to the other ones.
Is it better than Die Harder?
It's better than Die Harder. It's better than Die Hard 4.0 because it was digital and
techie.
techie.
Which in America was released as Die Hard. No, Live Free or Die Hard. Oh God. I know.
Awful. Live Free or Die Hard.
I know.
So
Then he was in G.I. Joe Retaliation. No.
I didn't see it, George.
In fact, yeah, none of this is
the other one with The Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Red 2.
That was at the beginning of The Rock becoming the most marketable, bankable star. Yeah.
Because they would put him in sequels and he would make the film work.
Yeah.
Red 2.
I'm still waiting for San Andreas too, by the way.
Sin City 2, you know.
Oh god, yeah, they did do a sequel
And
to
then,
Sin City.
and then I have to say, there is basically nothing of note. There are loads of films,
Yeah.
but nothing. He was in a Death Wish remake. He was in Glass, that thing.
Yeah.
No. And then that really brings us up to, I mean, he had like,
There are a couple of nothing films that I'd seen
basically
trailers
he's been in a
for.
lot of films where you only need to shoot for like one day.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and get a lot of money for it. So sadly, that is sort of the trajectory of his career. But really, when people say, "Oh, Bruce Willis," most people remember him from Die Hard. Is that a fair assessment? Is that fair?
I think a fair assessment, and I think there's so many. He's done quite a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Think about from Sixth Sense to Die Hard
Armageddon,
to Armageddon.
Solid cluster,
Really good
of-
career.
but also a solid cluster of like movies, like
Yeah.
proper like popcorn movies. Yeah. Solid. Like we said, Die Hard's fantastic.
Engaging.
Yeah, engaging. Sometimes kind of cerebral. 12 Monkeys.
You could
Looper.
pick like 3 of those films and have a really good night in of different types of good films and really just have a good time with them.
Bruce Willis. So he will be missed. He's definitely made his mark, and he has his place. He has his place in
100%.
the canon of cinema. So
Hopefully we'll
all the
see him
best.
again.
Hopefully
soon.
we'll see him
I'd love
again.
to.
But just wishing him all the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Pulp Kitchen. We've got fresh episodes coming out every Wednesday. Don't forget, we've got plenty of new content coming out on the channel as well. And
Please give this video, if you're watching, a like and subscribe. It really does make a difference. And if you're listening, please leave us a review. Send it to your friends. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram.
And contact us, DM us or email us if you have questions, answers, reviews, hot takes. We'd love to hear from you.
hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
Well done.
See you next week.
Bye.